I'm one of the trainers at the International College of Professional Celebrants and also a practicing celebrant.
And I'm Stuart Morris, and I'm the founder of the International College of Professional Celebrants and a practicing celebrant.
And we're here to talk about there's people who just really focused on being a wedding celebrant, and we do a combined course, don't we, up at High Trent House in Yorkshire. And the question we're often asked is, well, why should I come along and do the funeral training when I just want to do weddings? So why should I learn about funerals too? So what's your view, Stuart, on that?
This is something that I'm absolutely passionate about, to the point where the whole team get tired of me banging on about it. So I will admit that it's one of my
I would never say
passionate
that,
things.
Stuart.
Ceremonies, the rites of passage, are a fundamental part of who we are as human beings. And this cuts in both directions. You might want to be a wedding celebrant and you think, why should I learn about funerals? Or you might want to be a funeral celebrant and you think, why should I learn about weddings? And there's baby namings and all sorts of other ceremonies, wonderful ceremonies that we can be involved with. And there are two primary reasons. So because the rites of passage are a fundamental part of who we are as human beings. In fact, in some ways, you could argue that one of the big differences between non-Homo sapiens species of human and Homo sapiens as a species is ceremony, is the rite of passage, that we deliberately bury our dead, or cremate them, that we have a death ritual, that we have a birth ritual, a naming ceremony, that we have a partnership ritual, a wedding. So it's very much part of who we are, and it's been around for a very, very long time. If we learn about being a wedding celebrant without learning the whole of ceremony, the whole of the ritual, the whole of the importance of ritual and both ends of human ritual making, it's a bit like learning to drive in a straight line and not learning how to go around a roundabout. You've only learned part of the skill. And I believe that if we learn all of it, even if we only specialize in one part or the other, and I'm very open, I primarily do funerals, I don't do very many weddings at all. If we learn all of it, we'll be better at whichever bit we then specialize in. And I think that's really, really important, that in order to be the best wedding celebrant, learn about all of celebrancy. In order to be the best funeral celebrant, learn about all of celebrancy. It'll make a huge difference to your own enjoyment of celebrancy. And the other reason, and this happened to me when I became a celebrant as a full-time, this is my day job, this is what I'm going to do to pay the mortgage. I thought I was going to be all over weddings.
Did you?
And I set off. Yeah, I did. I set off down the road and I built my business up and I started doing weddings. And I also started doing a few funerals. And I suddenly, one day, I remember the moment, I was driving home from a wedding and I actually had to pull over, and I pulled over into a lay-by and I just sat there and I thought, this isn't working for me. I'm not enjoying doing these weddings. And it was a really hard moment because I'd put a lot of effort into building that business and marketing and becoming quite successful at it. But I realized that in my heart, I wasn't enjoying it. Whereas today, I've just taken a wonderful funeral for a lady who died too soon. She wasn't very old. And driving home, I was sort of thinking about the comments that the family had made to me afterwards and how it's been working with them over the last couple of weeks to put this funeral together. And I just felt completely different about it. I feel fulfilled, I feel rewarded, I feel just totally different. So for me, and we know so many people who've done this, they've started down one road and discovered that actually they've got a passion in the other direction. Whereas if you only train for one, you don't have any choice there.
No, and it
Which
can be more
also,
expensive.
sorry, go on, Messi.
It can be more expensive. And I know I did
But
personally because I came in thinking I wanted to be a funeral celebrant, and I thought, oh, I'll have a little dabble in weddings and see how I feel about it. And my wedding business really took off, and I love it, and it's really really brilliant. But I have to agree with you that the whole thing feels different. And it's really hard to put your finger on why you feel it's a different, although the theory of a ceremony is the same thing, the emotion and the feelings that you have at a funeral are very different. The experience is very different. And I'm not saying one's really happy and one's really sad, because I'm sure you've been to many funerals that are massive celebrations of life and very joyous occasions. And I was really pleased that I took both, because it helped me understand exactly what you're saying about the importance of ceremony in all rites of passage, and actually understanding some of the skills and things that you think about when you're talking to a bereaved family. You might find, you have to use when you're dealing with a couple, because it might be that their parents aren't there, and it's a very emotional, grandparents, it's a very emotional. So all of the skills and the approaches that you learn, and things like, can you recommend me a poem for remembrance, is something that you could have to hand because you are. And people want to acknowledge people who can't be there. So that's a really good example, I think, of where those skills cross over.
I think also, we look at 2020. I know a number of wedding celebrants who essentially, that I know one particular celebrant who lost £48,000 worth of income because all the weddings that they'd got booked were cancelled. And so, had that person got funerals as a skill, which in that particular instance they didn't, there were plenty of funerals to be taken in 2020.
Sadly,
You know,
yes.
just from a business perspective, it gives you resilience. It gives you a second
Mm.
strand, and obviously the wedding season. Weddings are very seasonal. There are winter weddings, but it is generally a summer thing in the UK. And there's actually funerals are to a degree seasonal. There are definitely more funerals in January, February than there are in April or May, for example. Similarly, in the hot months, July, August, again, there's another funeral peak. So having both does make it more likely that you'll be able to make it work as an income.
Yeah, and it is, we all have reasons for going, and some, emotional, vocational needs to
Yeah.
give that drives us to that job. But ultimately, it is a business. And the other way to think about it is, if you give a bloody good funeral service, then somebody might think of you for their wedding, and vice versa. And I know one of our fellow
Or,
celebrants
yeah, the
did
number of times
the
I've
same
picked
one.
up a baby naming ceremony off the back of a funeral. Um, so yeah, it's a kind of a circular thing,
Mm.
and I know celebrants who've done somebody's wedding, and then grandma has died, who was at the wedding, and the couple have said, "Well, can you take grandma's funeral?" And I have one particular family who call me their family priest because they call on me for all of their ceremonies. I've done weddings, funerals, baby namings, um, for them. And we say family priest in a jokey way because there's no religious sense, because we are ministers without religion. But I know what they want. I know who they are as a family. I know their style. I know their belief system, because most people have got some kind of belief system, um, even if it doesn't fit into a recognized faith.
Yeah.
They may have bits and pieces from here and there, and so it actually becomes, when the phone rings and their name shows up on the phone, I thought, oh, I feel for them, because why are they calling again? but I don't know whether it's going to be another funeral of an aged grandparent or whether it's going to be the next grandchild's getting married.
Mm.
So it's all, and it's nice. You build up relationships with people over time. So for me, ICPC only trains both because I think it makes us the best celebrants. It's a really, for me, a strongly held philosophical view. Is I don't mind where you end up specializing, but at least train to do both so you can be as good as you possibly can be at wherever you end up specializing.
That's beautifully summarised, Stuart. Thank you.